Lightroom workflow for beginners step by step. That is today's tutorial. I will be working on this hummingbird photo I took in my front yard. And if you do not know how to import photos into Lightroom, you can click on this button, import here, and then find your image on your SD card. Or you can also go to File, Import Photos and Videos. And that's the way you bring your photos into Lightroom. Now that we have our photo here, let's go through our workflow. The first thing I would like to do is crop my image. So we have to take care of the composition first. For this image, I would like to maybe crop it something like that. I make sure I put the eye on the rule of thirds. That's just the way I like to crop my images. You don't have to do that. You can use different methods. And once I like my cropping, I will just press enter, and now I'm accepting the cropping. Now we'll do some work on this bird to make it stand out from the background, and then also we will get rid of this chain that is hanging here. This was a, feeder hanging, or a little swing, I think, hanging for the hummingbirds from the tree. So the first thing I like to do is the white balance. I like the way it is. I do not want to mess with it. If you have white balance issues, this will be the time to adjust that. The exposure, it's the next thing I like to do, but this exposure, it's good. I do not have a problem with that either. So I will leave the exposure, but I would like to add a little bit of contrast, not too much. So I will do maybe 10, 11. The highlights, I feel like I can bring them down a little bit. And even though the whites are not too bright, I will bring them down because I usually like to take down my highlights. And then, let's see. I don't need to, I'll open the shadows all the way to 100. And now I like to add whites because I took down the highlights. Now I like to add some whites back to make these feathers wider. One trick that you should know to Lightroom is if you hold down Option while you're moving the slider, you can see when you're starting to clip the whites. So that white color showing up through, that means we have no information there. So you don't want to have any white. Hold down Option and move it until you just not see any white, and then let go, and now we have great whites. The same thing you can do with the blacks. Hold down Option. Option is for the Mac, I believe on the Windows it's Alt, and you can bring down the blacks. And when you see that black, that means, we're not having any information, that is pure black. So just a little bit, something like that, it looks good. The next thing I want to do is add some texture. Texture, it's like very fine sharpness, like very, very small details. And I like to bring it at about 20 and then add some clarity around 15. And that just adds a little bit of contrast and more sharpness. For the color, I would like to enhance the colors some. So I prefer to use vibrance versus saturation. Most of the time, I only use vibrance and pretty much never add saturation unless I work with the HSL channel. Then always when I have wildlife photos, I like to make the eye stand out. And the way I like to do that is by adding a Radial Gradient, and I will just draw it small just for the eye. And what I like to do there is increase the exposure a little bit, add some whites to make that catch light stand out, and then bring down the blacks a little bit so we don't end up with a gray eye. We want the eye to still be black, especially if the bird does have black eyes. Let me zoom in at 100%. And now if we see this before and after, let's see. This is before and this is after. Before and after. We just brought some life into that eye. I am going to go to fit to screen. By the way, you have on top of your navigation here, you have fit to screen. You can zoom to 100, 50%, or any of these percentages over here. So now we are fit to screen so we can see our whole image. And what I like to do, I like the white balance on the bird. I think it looks very nice, but I do want to cool the background. So the way I can select the background and not the bird is to go into my masking. Masking is this circle over here. I already have it open. You see my mask, all the masks I will apply that will be on this list here, but we already applied the eye mask. So now we just have to create a new one. So I'll click on this plus. And then on this one, I will go to select subject, and Lightroom is really good at finding our subject. So as you can see, it found the subject, but now I do not want to cool my bird. I want to cool the white balance on the background. So where you have these three dots over here next to your mask, click on that and go to Invert Mask Tool. And now we have the background selected. With the background selected, I like to take the white balance temperature quite a bit, maybe like negative 25, 27. And that just like makes the background more blue, not as yellow. And this is our before and after. Before and after. And now we cool down the background, but I feel like the transition between the background and the birds is a little bit too abrupt. We need to feather it a little bit. To do so, I will go back into this mask tool, that it's the bird, and I want to add to this mask just a little bit. So I'll click on add, and I will use a brush for that. And you see my brush, it's feathered to 100, so it's a very, very soft brush. And with this soft brush, I just paint on the very edge, just go to the edge of the brush. And if you need to see your overlay, because I'm not seeing what I'm painting, click O on your keyboard and that will bring in the overlay. And now I can just, you know, paint with a soft brush and just kind of make sure that it's blending nicely the background with our bird. So just keep on going all around it, something like that. And that will just make it look like, you know, a little bit more blended, makes it look a little bit more natural. So we'll go, and that looks good. Click O again to make the overlay go away. And I like the way it's looking. I'm going to close the masking dialog over here by clicking on this mask icon, the circle. And then you could work with the calibration panel if you want, or with HSL and all this stuff. I'm not gonna do that right now, but I will add some sharpening. I like to keep it at default at 40, but then hold down Option on the Mac, I believe it's Alt on Window, and just pull this slider to the right until we are just sharpening the bird and not the background. This image is pretty noisy. I think I shot it, let's see, ISO, what did I shot it? ISO 1600. So it's pretty noisy. We don't want to sharpen that noise, that will just accentuate that. So we sharpen the bird and then remove chromatic aberration. And now I will take this image into Photoshop to remove this chain and remove the noise. Maybe even add a little bit of color to this bird. To move this photo from Lightroom into Photoshop, you can either go up here to Photo. And by the way, this video was inspired by one of my subscribers, Marie. And this is for you. She asked all these questions on how to move photos from Lightroom to Photoshop and a little bit more information about editing. So I made this video for her so she can understand it better. So go to Photo and then Edit In, and you can go to Edit in Adobe Photoshop. If you're working with more than one photo and want to open them in Photoshop as layers, then this one will not be gray up and you can open it as layers in Photoshop. But what we want to do is go Edit in Adobe Photoshop. A shortcut for that is Command E. And when you do that, the Lightroom, it sends the photo automatically into Photoshop. So Command E is the shortcut for it. And now if we go to Photoshop, the image should be waiting for us over there. And there it is. I'm going to close these panels here so it doesn't distract you. And the first thing I would like to do is remove this chain. To remove the chain, I will take this lasso tool over here on the left side, click on that lasso, and I am going to loosely draw around the chain. And then I will go to Shift Delete, and this will bring this fill dialog. And here I chose Content Aware Fill and click OK. Command D to deselect, and you see it's the little bit of the edges are not perfect, and that is because I had feathering at 4 pixels, and I can take care of this ones easily with this patch tool. Get this patch tool over here, and I'm just gonna draw around those edges just like this, and then you take the selection and drag it next to it, and now Command D, that it's gone. So we got rid of the chain. Let's add some color onto the bird. My favorite way to add color in Photoshop, and it's better than vibrance or saturation, is to use selective color. And I already made a shortcut for me over here, this color boost. If you want to know how to make this shortcut, it's really easy, and I can show you in a different video. Just leave it in the comments below. and I will show you exactly how to do it. Now, of course, this makes my background too bright. I just want my bird to stand out, but look at the colors in the bird. This is the before, this is the after, before and after. I really like the colors in the bird, except the red. I feel like the red is too much. So into the red channel, you see we have all the colors here. Into the red channel, I don't have any red here, but I have cyan, which is opposite of red. So if I move this slider back, you see I'm toning down the reds. So I don't want to tone it down all the way, but just halfway, just so it looks not too blown out. And now I would like to only apply these colors to the bird, not the background. This is a mask. The mask is white right now. That means it shows all my changes to the image. If I go Command I, I'm inverting this mask, and now everything is hidden that I did with these colors. We don't see any of the colors. Well, on this black mask, black hides and white reveals, I can just take a brush, make sure I get white for the foreground color. Right now I have a black. To toggle between black and white, just click X on your keyboard, and that will give you a white brush. Now I want to make sure my brush is hardness is 0. That means it's very, very soft brush. And I can make my brush larger with the right bracket key and smaller with the left bracket key. So just like that, I have a brush, I have the white color, make sure the mask is selected, and on that mask I'm painting with white, and I am revealing all those beautiful colors just onto the bird without messing with the background. Great. So this is our before and after, before and after. That looks good. Now I need to flatten this image. That means I'll take both of these layers and turn it into just one layer. And to do that, I will do right click on the layer and just go to flatten image. Now I want to duplicate my layer so I can remove the noise. You don't have to duplicate it, but I like to do that just because I feel like it's non-destructive. That way I have my original image. To duplicate a layer into Photoshop, just click on Command J. Now with this layer 1 selected, which is the copy of my background, I will go into Filter, then I will go to Topaz Labs, Topaz Denoise. And this will open the Topaz Denoise. You can use this one in Lightroom too, you don't have to do it in Photoshop. I just did it from Photoshop. Sometimes I like working in Photoshop with the denoise better than Lightroom just because I have layers, and if I feel like, you know, I can remove some of the effect and some parts and stuff, I can use the layer mask to do so. I'm going to keep everything into the default, and look at this. If I move at 200%, there you go. Let me move it on the bird. You see how this noise, it's gone. This is the before, this is the after. Before and after. It even sharpened the bird a little bit. Look at the eye. That is the before, this is the after, before and after. So I like the result. I will just click apply. And this will apply the noise, and it saves it into Photoshop. Great. So now this layer has the noise removed. If I turn it off, you can see the layer underneath with the noise. So what I need to do is flatten it again. And for that, remember, we'll just right click and go to flatten. And now we have our image is just one layer, and we are ready to send it back into Lightroom. How do we send an image from Photoshop back into Lightroom? Well, it's really easy. All you need to go is to go to File over here and just say Close. And then this dialog pops up, and then you click Save. And when it saves it right back into Lightroom. And this is our image. This is the one we sent into Photoshop, and this is the one it came back. You see this one had the chain. Oops, I'm sorry. This one was the one we sent in with the chain, and then this is the one that came back. The other one, this one over here, is the one that I edited before I made this video. So there is our image. It's edited, it has nice colors, nice composition. We got rid of that chain, and now we are ready to export it. How do we export an image from Lightroom? Well, that is quite easy as well. We go to File, we go to Export, and then here you can choose a specific folder where you want to send your image. I send mine into the Extreme Pro. This is an external drive where I made an album called Lightroom JPEG, and I like to keep all my images on an external hard drive. That way my computer is free of space and it works faster, and Photoshop and Lightroom and all the other programs I'm using, they are working fast and without any kind of, delays. So this is where you choose where you want your photo to go. And then the other things I did, for file settings, I made sure I chose JPEG because I want to save it as a JPEG. And then I also limited the file size to 20,000K. And that just makes sure that my images that I'm saving are not any bigger than 20 megapixels. Or megabytes, I'm not even sure what you measure it in. But it's 20, that's all I know. And that is because I do a lot of stock photography, and stock websites do not allow you to post anything bigger than 20 megabytes. I think that's what it is. And that's all I do. And just click export, and then your image is getting to be exported. I already exported this image, so I don't need to do this. I hope this was helpful, and Marie, I hope this clarifies some of the things you asked me for. If you have any more questions, please do let me know. Anything you want to learn about Lightroom, do write it in the comments below, and I will make sure to make a tutorial about it. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Skyler Ewing, and I'll see you in my next video.